Hello, hockey fans. The Minnesota Hockey Connection Show is on the air. We're at PACT-TV Studios in Duluth, Minnesota at City Hall. And it's Friday, February 3rd. And the reason I'm producing a show today is that they're doing a lot of construction in City Hall. And they're replacing all the heating and air conditioning vents. And it's a long process. And they're going to be closing down the studios for a few weeks. So I'm doing a show now that'll be on later on in the month of February, end of February. So here we go. I'm going to talk this show more on junior hockey, college hockey, and pro hockey. Because I haven't talked too much about juniors in a long time. So I was at the Minnesota Wilderness game last night, and they were tied for first place with Fairbanks, Alaska. Fairbanks, Alaska came in town. They're playing them. They played them last night, and the Minnesota Wilderness, won 5-4, or 4-3 in overtime. So it was a great game, up and down action. I'll tell you what, you got to get out to Cloquet or any junior team in the North American Hockey League and see some of these games, because these kids really work hard and it's up and down action. And so the Minnesota Wilderness take over first place by 1 point over Fairbanks, and they play them again on Friday night, and then they play another team, I forget who it is, on Saturday night. But so anytime during the season, look at the schedule, go on the North American NAHL and look up the schedules of your team closest to you and get out there for a junior game. And I was just looking at the lineups from last night, and from when I always go to the showcase in Blaine, Minnesota in September, middle of September, where the showcase is where all the North American Hockey League comes into town, and they play 3 games each, and it's a great event, and they got 8 rinks going all the time. And I was looking at the Minnesota Wilderness schedule, and right now I'll tell you, boy, do they change players. It's a tough league, and if you're not strong-headed and strong on the ice, you're not going to make it, because it's tough. So I'm just looking over some of the newer players. 17 was new last night for the first time. He came from the USHL, and he wasn't playing that much. Now he's going to be playing. He's on the first line. He's recruited by Wisconsin, so he's going to Wisconsin. He played his first game, and he looked pretty good out there for his first game with Wilderness. And then 28's a new player, forward, Hunter Bolger. 14's a new player, Eddie Schepler. Let's see, 10's a new player, Oliver Stompel. Charlie Erickson's been there from the beginning. Gordon's been there from the beginning. 11's a new player, O'Neill. Let's see, Knight's been here all year. Cesario has been here all year. And let's see, number 8, Ron DeVettila has been here all day. In defense, Jenzik from Hermantown's been there all year. Lonergan is new. Quinn's new. Sullivan is been there all year. Liebert has been there. No, he hasn't. He's new. And then Simmons. So I tell you what, a lot of new players. Both goalies been there all year, and I think that's the key to their team this year, is that 2 goalies, the Swedish goalie Poch, that's recruited by St. Cloud State, and former Duluth East player Conrad Kush. He's been playing good. Both of them are low, 2 goals, like one's 2.31 and one's 2.19 goals per game. So that's really good goaltending, and one's 0.926% saves, and one's 0.917%. So that's really good goaltending, and I think that's the main reason they're in first place. They've had a lot of injuries. What happens in juniors, sometimes I think they got a 28 game roster, and what happens is that players that are playing good, a USHL team might want to pick them up because they're looking for players all the time that are playing good in the North American. And then the USHL has to pay these teams money because of that, for that player. And sometimes, like this kid number 17 last night, Sower Squirrel, he was picked up in USHL, came back down because he wasn't playing that many games. He wasn't dressing, and if you're not dressing, you're not developing. And so coming back here, it's probably going to be a good thing for him because he'll be playing a lot of minutes. He'll be most likely on the first line. He was last night, and I expect that to continue. And it's great for a kid to start playing every game now again, because he was sitting out a lot of games in juniors at the USHL level. So I tell you, it's a tough world out there out of high school, and if you don't put all your energy and time into developing yourself and having the right attitude, and you're going to have problems when you leave high school playing at the next level. So just forewarn you, it's a tough world out there, and it's a business, and what coaches see might not be what you think, but it's just a tough thing. But if you can make through it, a lot of these North American, this is a Tier 2 league, a lot of these North American junior players, they get, a lot of them get to the next level, D1. And even a lot of them go to D3, so this is a great opportunity. So keep your head high and keep working hard in high school, and opportunities are there for playing in North American Hockey League, or even if you're even more skilled, the USHL, which is the only Tier 1 league in North America, or in the United States. So there you go, 2 good teams. Another good thing I noticed, there's a lot of Minnesota former high school players that are playing for these teams. I think the Wilderness had 9 players, and Fairbanks has 8 Minnesota players on their roster right now. And a lot of these other teams have a lot of players from Minnesota too, so there's a big group. So Minnesota continues to put out elite players out of high school, and they continue their hockey career, so that's very good. So we haven't talked about standings and that, and they already got about close to 40 games now. So I'm going to go over some of the 4 divisions in the North American Hockey League. The Central Division, they have Austin Bruins has 55 points. Minot has 42 points. Aberdeen has 42 points. St. Cloud Norsemen have 40 points. And then we got 39 points with Bismarck. And North Iowa has 36 points. So that's a tough division there. Only 4 go to the playoffs, so it's going to be real close. They're real tight right there, especially 2nd through 6. So then we go back east. There's 7 teams there in the East Division. Maryland Black Bears are first with 58. New Jersey Titans, 49 points. They're tied with Northeast Generals, 49 points. Then we got the Maine Nordiques, 38 points. And Johnstown Tomahawks, 36 points. Philadelphia Rebels, 36 points. And Danbury Junior Hat Trick, it looks like they're not doing too hot. They only have 9 points. But the Midwest Division, this is where the Wilderness, who play their games out in Cloquet at the Northwoods Credit Union Arena. So they're in first place right now after last night, 51 points. 50 points for Fairbanks, 45 for Jamestown Jets. Let's see, we got, well, that's Jamesville. I'm sorry. And then Kenai River out of Alaska has 44 points. Wisconsin, Wendigo has 44 points. And Anchorage has 42 points. Chippewa Still has 36 points. And Springfield, Illinois Junior Blues have 35 points. So the Wilderness, Fairbanks, Jamesville, Jets, and Kenai Brown Bears, in Wisconsin, Wendigo are teams that are playing for the playoffs right now, it looks like. And like I say, the top 4 teams get to go to the playoffs. And every year lately, the final 4 teams, the winner of the playoffs on each division, come up to Blaine, and they play it at Fogarty Arena, and that's in May, usually toward the end of May. Because of all the playoff games, it takes time. And one nice thing about the junior leagues, both the North American Hockey League and the United States Hockey League, both of them, these teams play 60 games, right around 60 games before the playoffs. So if you get to the playoffs, I mean, you can get about 70 games in usually. So that's very good to develop these young players. So like I said, look for junior teams in your areas and get out and see some of these games, because the price is pretty cheap for tickets to get into these games, and it's great up and down hockey. And I'll tell you what, some of these goaltenders, no wonder a lot of these goaltenders from the North, especially the North American Hockey League now, are getting D1 commitments. So it's really fun to watch these kids. Okay, I'm going to go to Minnesota College, D1. I'll tell you what, our local team, UMD Bulldogs, have played 4 good games in a row. They went up to North Dakota and split. They could have won that first game, but they won the second game, and then they came back home. And at that time in USA polls, they played the #1 team in the nation, St. Cloud State, and beat them both games. So the Bulldogs are playing good now. That this weekend they got Western Michigan, which is number 10 in polls in the pairwise. And I tell you, it's going to be a tough series, but I think UMD can. They play like they did last week, and they can win both of these games. And if they do that, they can get back into the playoff picture. Everyone thought they were out of it, and I did myself, out of the playoffs, where they have to go on the road for the first playoff series and probably lose. But they're playing very good hockey now, and I'm taking a U-turn on this and thinking, boy, if they can have a good weekend here, I think they're back in it. And I wouldn't want to play UMD when the playoffs do start then, even if they have to go on the road. So UMD Bulldogs, Western Michigan this weekend. And then they They got, let's see, they go out, I think they have a bye this next weekend. Then they go out to Denver. Then they come out back here home and they play Miami of Ohio for a weekend series. And then they go up to St. Cloud for the St. Cloud State for the final series of the regular season. That'll be the first weekend in March. So got so 4 more games at home. And then depends on where, if they're in the top 4, they can play at home or they go on the road. But if they can do good this weekend, I think they're back in the picture of being at home, getting a home field advantage for the playoffs. And we have to wait and see. So, hey, get out to these college games too. They're just fun to watch, and a lot of action and a lot of great players. And I'll tell you what, in seeing UMD with this young group, it's fun to see them play against very good teams. I mean, playing very well. So we'll see. Let me see what we got for I know we got a lot of standings here, but yeah, UMD right now is in 6th place, but they can move up real fast if they can beat Western Michigan this weekend. Denver's in the lead, and then let's see who's in second right now. I had that list, but let's see if do I have that. I guess I don't. But Denver is in the lead right now. They're way ahead of everyone, and then St. Cloud State I think is 3rd, and then Omaha's 2nd. So it's a tight race for 2nd through 7, really. That things can change real fast on if someone has a good weekend. So we'll wait and see what's happening. But when it's I don't know. College hockey is getting like the old days where some of the top teams, I can see some of the top teams from the old days that always went to the Frozen Four could have a good chance of being back in Tampa, Florida in the 2nd weekend of April, where the Frozen Four is held this year, because Minnesota is the #1. Michigan's playing real well. When that series with the Minnesota Gophers a couple weeks ago was great hockey, one of the best college series in a long time I've seen. Then Boston University is playing real good, and Denver, DU. So those 4 teams have been to a lot of Frozen Fours, and there's a good chance you can see these 4 teams again. And right now, Minnesota's #1 in the country, and I'll tell you what, they got Big Ten is really one of the strongest conferences. They got Minnesota, they got Penn State, they got Ohio State, they got Michigan, all in the top 10, and they got Notre Dame in the top 16. So there's 5 teams in the top 16 right there. The NCHC is still a very good conference. They got Denver, they got St. Cloud State, they got Western Michigan in the top 10, and then Omaha is right there on the border coming in, and UMD is about, with a couple wins this weekend, I mean, they can get in close to that top 16 where they belong the way they played last weekend. So we'll wait and see. And then, hey, Bemidji State is playing pretty good hockey. Minnesota State, Mankato, they're in the top 16. Well, St. Thomas is starting to play the better competitive. They probably won't do anything this year, but they're recruiting a lot out of Minnesota. They're getting a lot of commitments out of Minnesota, so it's a good thing for high school hockey in Minnesota, because St. Thomas right there, down there in St. Paul that, hey, this is a good thing for more D1 commitments and scholarships, and you get to see local players. And, and now they're recruiting their own people, and so it'll be their group. And I think that team is the team to watch in the future. And that, so we got we're going to have 6 good D1 colleges in Minnesota, and that's great for hockey, for the state of hockey. The Minnesota Wild, they're on All-Star break, and they're in the playoff picture. Right now, they're 3rd in their division. And on this standing list I have here, I didn't put the last game of before the All-Star game in their record, but Minnesota is in 3rd in the Central, with Dallas leading and Winnipeg right behind them. So in Colorado, which has a lot of injuries this year, missing a lot of key players and for a lot of games, they're fighting to get back in it, and they're right next to Minnesota. So if they can hold on, Minnesota will be in the playoffs again in the Central Division. Over in the Pacific, the LA Kings, boy, they really jumped up. They're in first place right now. And then probably the biggest surprise is the new franchise team from 2 years ago, Seattle. Man, they're in second place in the Pacific Division. And then Vegas, who the Wild will play when they return from the All-Star break, for first game at home. I mean, they're right there too with 61 points. Seattle and Vegas are 61 points, and LA Kings are 62. So it's amazing how Seattle is playing, and we'll see if they can continue and make the playoffs. And then with Minnesota, you wonder if they are going to get any trades before the trade deadline, which is coming up pretty soon. And I hope they do. I think they need one or two players that can help the team, because you just can't depend on that Kaprizov and Zuccarello doing all the work on first line there. But 5-on-5 is tough on I don't care, pros, college, juniors, high school. 5-on-5 is tough to score nowadays with the speed of the game, and there's no room out there because these players are so fast and they're right on the puck and that. And so you need a special group on the power play. And Minnesota's been looking pretty good lately, which is I like. And I mean, Eriksson Ek, he gets in front of that net, so he's scoring a lot of goals. But the scoring for the Wild right now there's how many games? They played about 47 games, I think, right now. So most of the players have 45 to 47 games on the team. So they've been pretty lucky on the injuries. But Kaprizov has 56 points. He has 27 goals, 31 assists. He's leading the team. And then next in line is his first line mate, Mats Zuccarello. And he's at 19 goals and 28 assists, so 47 points. So those two are really hitting it hot. Joel Eriksson Ek is third. He has 17 goals and 22 assists. And then Matt Boldy, who just got a 7-year contract at $7 million a year, not bad for a young kid. And he'll be around a long time with the Wild. I'll guarantee you that. Great hands. It's fun to watch. And then, the number 1 D is right there in 5th place in scoring. He's out there in every power play, and he's very offensive and smart on the ice, is Kalen Addison, which is 3 goals and 21 assists, 24 points altogether. So he's in 5th place. And then it drops off. So we're going to have to get a lot more points off the second and third line. And if that happens, I think the Wild will get into the playoffs. The goaltending started off very shaky this season, but the Fleury, Marc-Andre Fleury, he's been playing excellent, and so has his backup Gustafsson. And if those two continue that, I'm almost guarantee you they're going to be in the playoffs. But I'd like to see, just like to see the Wild go after some a player for just the rest of this year, knowing that they won't be able to sign him after the year, but just to get in the playoffs and go farther in the playoffs than they normally do. So we'll see with the Minnesota Wild. And I'm going to go, let's see, the scoring leaders. The scoring leaders, well, you know, Connor McDavid, what can you say about him? He's amazing. In 49 goals, he's had 49 games, 40 goals. Then Boston. Hey, well, what can you say about Boston? Boston is amazing. Top team in pro hockey right now, National Hockey League, way ahead of everyone else. They got close to 90 points right now. And that means they're going to go way up into the hundreds. So that team has a lot of players that played many years, and they're still doing it. They're still scoring. It's amazing. And then what can you say about Ovechkin? He's still going nuts. He's in 7th place this year in the goals. He's got 32 goals already. He has a chance to get another 50-goal season. That's amazing. So there you go. Junior hockey, college hockey, even D3. Get out there and see some games. And hey, the Wild are in town a lot in February. So get down there, February, March, April, regular season. Get down to the XL and see them. Get out and see some great hockey. And I want to thank the staff at PACT-TV. And like I said, we're going to be off the air in the studios for a few weeks for construction. And so we'll see you later on. See you at the rink.